Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. And today I'm reviewing Artemis Odyssey, a game from Grand Gamers Guild. This is going to be the spiritual successor, so to speak, to the Artemis Project. A different prior game from the Grand Gamers Guild. Totally different game, just sharing the same name and well, that's really it. Now, this is a game that's currently on Kickstarter, link in the description down below, and it very much is a prototype. Everything you see in front of you is a prototype, very much subject to change. They have a whole deluxeified everything. If you look on Kickstarter, there'll be deluxeified components, there'll be a deluxeified version of this game. There'll also be a retail version of this game, but that means all the components you see are definitely going to change, and of course, rules and everything else subject to change as well. Now, this game is going to be a game of, well, action planning. It's going to be a game where you're going to have your characters. Right now it's set up for a 3-player game. Technically, we're in the middle of a 3-player game. We've all started at Earth around the center planet, and we're slowly expanding to the other areas of the galaxy to build up our resource production in this game. This is a game that's going to feel like it's going to have a lot of similar high notes to games like Catan, games where you have a basic engine you're trying to build out as you try to gather the most points. Now, unlike Catan, you're not going for 10 points so much as you're going for 77 points in this game. A lot more points, but that's because the whole game is actually a very different engine. In this game, what you're going to do is you're going to be taking cards from your hand. You're going to have a handful of cards. This is going to be action programming. Think Race for the Galaxy. Think any game where you're trying to plan out an action that will impact yourself and others, but you'll be choosing the action as well as potentially getting a benefit as well. So perhaps I go ahead and play this card face down there. Yellow player goes ahead and plays a card. Now, this is an important part. They can play cards out of order. So yellow's going to go ahead and play a card over there. We're going to grab red, and red will play a card. Ooh, we're going to play this card over here. And then back to green. Green's going to play a card over here. You can get the general idea as we go. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and, well, let's keep playing cards just so we have a row. And then we'll play it out, showing you a little bit how every single card can play in this game. We're going to put this card over here. And then we're going to go ahead and put this card over here. We'll do that one over there. We'll throw a green card down over here. And then we'll throw a yellow over here. Just bear with me as I do this. We'll do that one over there. And then finally, we'll do a red card over here. And that's it. Now, this track will have variable numbers of which tracks are open for which player counts. So we're going to go ahead and resolve these cards now, flipping them one at a time, carrying out the actions in order. And the actions are going to range. We're going to go through each one, giving you a general overview of how this plays out. But the core concept, before we go into each individual action, is going to be you're going to be moving around the galaxy. You're going to be generating resources based on the planets you have a presence in. You're then going to be using those resources to build more things in the game, all while throwing in different scoring cards that are going to be the reason and the ways you gain points in the Artemis Odyssey. So, for example, this first card over here is going to allow us to travel to one of these planets. But the green player is going to choose which of the 3 planets to go to. Now, all players have 6 of the planets in the game. They do not have all the planets, which means you do have to rely on other players in order to get access to certain planets. So over here, we're going to go ahead and choose this blue planet over here. And then starting with myself, I'll go ahead, starting with green, all 3 players here. We're going to go ahead and peek at the various places over here, and we're going to go to that location over there using our spaceship. This little meeple guy is a spaceship because, like I said already, prototype components. The other players can now go there as well. So we're going to go ahead. Yellow's going to go ahead as well and try to, let's see, Yellow's going to go ahead and move there with their spaceship from there. This also helps Yellow's plans, we'll explain later. And finally, Red's going to look around, and Red's also going to want to go ahead and get an Earth planet. Now, when you do discover a planet for the first time, you're also going to get a resource of the indicated type. From there, we're going to go ahead and flip green again. Now, green, again, is going to go ahead and generate based on where you are. Factories are going to generate 2 resources, whereas colonies and starships are going to generate 1 resource, and the last type, terraformer, is only really worth points in the game, so not generating anything there. So you're going to choose one of the 2 resources on the resource card, and all players are going to generate that type of resource for each area that they have a location on. We're going to move to red, and red's going to, again, generate resources. Now, I'm skipping the actual gathering of resources, just pretend I'm taking resources based on the planets I'm on. Back to green. Green is going to go ahead and execute on building. Over here, green's going to be able to build 2 of any 2 things on this card. Other players are going to build 1. So you have spaceships, you have your starships, you have your colonies, you have your factories, and you have your terraformers that you're going to build. Starships are going to be how you explore the galaxy. Colonies are going to be how you gain presence in the galaxies and also generate resources. Starships generate resources as well. Factories are going to generate 2 resources, and terraformers are going to be giving you points in the game. Now, there is a concept as well in this game of alien planets. We can see one down here. When you build things on the alien planet, rather than generating resources, you're going to get points for anything you build, not just terraformers. We're going to move to the next card. The next card is going to be yellow, trying to get in on that resource game. Notice how yellow went to that planet over there with the energy. Yellow is going to choose energy, and yellow is going to get 2 energy because yellow has presence on, actually yellow has more than that. Nope, that's 2 energy. Yellow has 2 energy in the game, and everyone else will get, well, nothing. We're going to move to the next card, which is going to be yellow trying to choose where to travel in this galaxy. Yellow actually intentionally wanted to travel, but where to travel to is a different question. Looking around the board, yellow is going to go ahead and get in on this planet, and you'll see why, because yellow is going to move its token, its spaceship, to one of these planet types over here. We're going to go ahead and get water, gathering a water as well. From there, red's going to try to have move. Red can move over there as well, getting whatever that resource is, one of the crystal types. But now there's no more locations for green to travel to. Green can travel to the planet it already has presence on, but as it's an alien planet, it won't actually necessarily help it in this case. But you can plan out your actions and your planets, knowing that because there's limited planets left, other players may not have access to it. From there, red's going to go ahead and generate resources. Again, red can build 2 things, other players can build 1. Then yellow's going to go ahead and execute on a scoring card. Scoring cards are a big part of the game. Scoring cards are going to have 2 different sides, and the person who played the card will choose a side to score for. In this case, yellow can score either for presence in different solar systems, or alternatively, they could score for having the most things in any one solar system. Now, this is where yellow actually probably shouldn't have moved away from there, but we'll be fine. We're fine. Yellow's going to go ahead and gather 3 points for having presence in 3 different solar systems. We're choosing that side in case it wasn't clear. Green's going to get 4 points, unfortunately, and red's going to get 3 points as well. That, now that I'm thinking about it, that's not actually the best choice. The best choice would probably be getting 2 points per presence in the solar system in this case. And this is a typo, prototype. This is going to be 2 points over there. Either way, you're going to finish the point scoring over there, and then we're going to move to red, where red's going to generate resources. That's basically the sequence. A few cards we're missing out on. Let's go through some cards. We're going to have a few different scoring cards. Let's cover those last. We're going to have the production card for yellow. We have scoring card 1. We have movement. We have resource production. We have more movement. Every character is going to have 2 movement cards. We're going to have more resource production, more resource production. Then we're going to have trading. Trading is a card we didn't have the opportunity to go through. Trading will allow the active player to trade with everyone and with the bank, and the other players can only trade with the active player, the person who played that card. When you trade with the bank, you're going to be able to trade your first resource at a 1-to-1 ratio, your second resource at a 2-for-1, 3-for-1, etc., onwards and so forth. And then from there, you have 4 scoring cards. Every player has the same 4 scoring cards, and you're going to play those throughout the game to try to get points, choosing the thing that you're best at, not like I did over here where I chose the thing that I was not the best at. You're going to have that card we saw already, where you can choose between presence in different galaxies or having a lot of presence in a single system. You can choose this card where you get 2 points for every starship, or 1 point for every colony and 2 points for every factory. You have this card where you can get 2 points for every alien planet you have presence on, or 3 points for every terraformer you've built. And then finally, we have this card where you can discard cards from your hand and get points either for sets of the same cards or sets of different cards in this game. Now, most of these cards at the end of the round will come back to you as you play. Most of the cards, when you're done playing the cards, you're going to pull back all the cards that haven't played so far. The exception is scoring cards. Scoring cards only come back to you when you've played all 4 of your scoring cards. So it's not enough in this game to be good at one thing and then keep on playing that card. You're going to have to play your other scoring cards to get any of your scoring cards back, which means you need to be good at least 4 different things. You can choose which 4 things to be good at, but you need to be good at those 4 things as you go through the game. Few other minor points just to cover before we go into the whole review part, which we have over here, this 42, this location over here, 42, and you cross 42, which is the answer to life, the universe, and everything. But when you cross that number, you're going to go ahead and divvy up various alien tech cards that you're going to distribute them to the person who has the lowest score. They're going to pick one, pass to the next lowest, so on. These are going to be one-time use cards that give you a little situational benefit to the game. You can also gather these by discovering alien planets. Normally, when you go to a new planet, you're going to discover and acquire a resource. When you go to an alien planet, you're discovering and acquiring one of these cards. So there's not going to be a ton of these cards in the game. In any given game, you'll see maybe 8, maybe 9 of them. Not a lot of those cards, but they will have an effect. And that is basically, and lastly, game ends when you get to 77 points. You'll finish out the phase and then move on to, endgame scoring and all of that. That is going to be how you play the Artemis Odyssey from Grand Gamers Guild. Sorry for the slow pause. I had to check the name. Either way, so let's go ahead and get into the review of this game, what I liked, didn't like, and what I can see others not liking. Now, to begin with, this game is easy to teach, it's easy to learn. Like, I just went through 98% of what you need to know to play this game. If you've played any basic engine tableau building game, a game with resources, a game with trading, this has a lot of those common metrics. You're going to be exploring different galaxies, moving around the planets. You're going to be trying to gather resources. You're going to be using those resources to build more of your tableau building, more of your resource production, all while trying to keep your eye on the prize, how to score points in this game. Points are going to come when you build terraformers. Every time you build a terraformer, you're going to get points right there. Whenever you build regular colonies and or factories on alien planets, you'll get points as well. And then the meat of the game is going to come from playing those scoring cards, playing those cards to the row, ideally trying to plan around not just what you're best at, but following up on an action that will make you better at that. Maybe you plan a flight card so you can go to a new galaxy and then play the scoring card that rewards you for being in different galaxies. Hopefully along the way, other players have also played flight cards, further enabling you to jump around from galaxy to galaxy. You're going to be trying to plan out the sequencing in this game, but it's pretty easy to teach, easy to learn. The game plays well at a variety of player counts as well. This is a game that plays 1 to 5 players, and it plays well at most player counts. Now, to be fair, I have not played this I have not played this as a 1-player game. I also have not played the team mode for 6 to 8 players. But other than that, in terms of a 2 to 5 player game, this gives you a solid experience at different player counts. A 2-player mode is going to introduce a bit of a third action system in the game that gives you something else to keep the game moving, to give you a variable to account for. And the 3 to 5 player game is going to be pretty quick, pretty fast, easy to play, easy to teach, and the play time for this game is going to come in at right around that hour mark. A 3-player game, a 2-player game is going to come in at an hour or under, and 4 or 5 is going to come in at just over an hour mark. Again, depends on how quickly you pick it up, or people who know the games, or whatever it is, your experience with the game, but past that, that's going to be, well, roughly an hour for this game. The action selection in this game is going to be fairly standard to a degree. It's going to follow typical action selection mechanisms, but it does have all the reward and the fun of an action selection system. It's going to have that aspect of playing the cards that help you with your engine, while being mindful and planning or trying to anticipate what cards other players will play for their engine. Now, this does end up in a bit of a mind game. You know that Tiffany's going to play that build card because she needs starships, so you try to wait for her to build her build card. Meanwhile, she's waiting on Frank to use his build card, so you may end up with no builds this round as you incorrectly anticipated who would or wouldn't play a card. So you're constantly struggling with that choice of, well, I need X, Y, and Z. If I play it myself, it's good. If someone else plays it, it's more efficient. But if they don't play it, it can completely ruin my cycle in this game. So you want to kind of plan around both what players will do, as well as ensuring that you're not too far up the creek if they don't end up doing what you want to do. The scoring is going to be the biggest part of the game that is rewarding in trying to figure out what you need to do in the game, because those scoring cards, there's an instinct in this game to not play scoring cards that often. There's an instinct to dive into the game and play out your engine building, because engine building is the most fun, right? You want to build your spaceships and your colonies and your starships, and you want to get all that going. The thing about this game, as opposed to other games, is that you are going to be able to get those things going, just possibly a drop slower, but you can rely on other players. This is not a game where you're forced to choose between scoring and building. You can score and then capitalize off everyone else's build actions and perhaps end off the better for it, because if other players are playing those build actions to build up their colonies, their starships, their resources, all of that, too many build actions might leave you with extra build actions that you can't even afford what you want. Resources in this game, at least early game, are going to be sparse. Resources are sparse. Resources are hard to come by. Resources in this game, at least early game, are going to be hard to come by. And so you're going to have a variety of build actions on the table and not being able to do anything with them. So trying to instead go for scoring cards is going to be much safer, resulting in you being able to choose the ways you get points while still managing to build out your engine in this game. So you're trying to constantly plan around that. You're trying to plan around which scoring cards you're going to use, when you're going to use them, even getting those extra. If you play 2-3 scoring cards, well, 3 is hard. If you play 2 scoring cards every single round while other players are playing 1 or 0, you will be able to eke out in those points and get ahead of the game. But that results in the other players trying to plan around what you're doing for the scoring cards. So there's a lot of fun around those scoring cards. And your first game, people are going to play them infrequently. And then game 2, they're going to start showing up a little more often. And game 3, they're going to show up even more often. This is a game where the more you play it, the more those scoring cards will rear their heads as people realize that that is the meat of the game. That is where you're going to win in this game. And then lastly, the alien cards, which I almost dropped on the floor over there, the alien cards are going to give you a whole variety of different small one-time use actions. Now, they're not game-breaking. These aren't like, oh my gosh, that's incredibly powerful. but they are helpful. There's going to be cards such as, ruining someone else's card entirely, forcing them to pull it back. There's going to be a card that lets you pull back your scoring cards, which can be particularly advantageous, meaning you can pull back your scoring cards before you fully play your engine, which can be very advantageous in the sense that if you're particularly good at one scoring card, you can basically play it twice in a row, 2 turns in a row, which can be a chunk of points, especially if you've built up some sort of, maybe you've gotten to a whole bunch of galaxies and you're scoring 7 points while other players are scoring 3 or 4. Being able to score that 7 points twice in a row is a big deal in a game that goes to 77 points, where you'll be ranking up that list pretty quickly. It's going to start off slow, but it's going to escalate and escalate fast in the game. As far as what I didn't like in this game, it's going to come down to certain aspects of this engine not feeling like they matter enough, at least to me. And it's going to be 3 specific things that I want to feel like they matter more. It's going to be, to begin with, the locations. I love how the various cards you play. I love the idea that any individual player only has access to 6 of these systems in this game. That you have to rely on others to get to other systems. That is such a fun concept. But it's ruined for me a bit by the fact that I didn't feel like these systems had any real gravitas of, I need to get to this system over here. It rarely felt like that to me. Now, to be fair, I haven't played as a 5-player game, and maybe the tighter the game, maybe the more players are, the more you're fighting for every last area of the planet. But for me, it's a game where you have this cool concept of the systems being limited to any individual players, and yet when you actually try to play the game, I didn't care enough. I was happy to go to any system. I was happy to pull it out. There are times, as we saw over here, where you might be a bit constricted, but I never felt constricted enough, especially as there are many, many things you can do in this game, and getting to every single planet is not an important aspect of the game. Secondly, is going to be the crystal types. There's going to be 3 different resources for energy, food, and water, and then there's going to be 3 crystals. Now, none of the things you build in the game ever require a specific type of crystal. It's always, you need food and this. You need food, water, and 2 crystals. You need one of each crystal and this. So to me, the crystals feel like they lack a bit of nuance to them. This is a game with 6 resources where I felt like 3 of them mattered and one of them was a kind of catch-all variety pack without having any real need of, I need that crystal type. And that might tie in as well to not feeling enough like the various systems mattered for me. The resources are fine, you do need them, you need to capitalize on them, but it felt like it lacked a little bit of character as to what you can use those crystals for, what you need them for. And then similarly, the access to production in this game also didn't matter a ton. Now, you need production, don't get me wrong, but it's the type of production you don't necessarily need a ton. Between the trading, between the fact that you can build up a variety of different engines, and everything costs different amounts of whatever. So whether you're building a variety of spaceships to fly around the systems, whether you're building up your colonies, your factories, or your terraforming, there's always something you can do with the resource types. And so you need production. You absolutely need production in this game. But the type of production didn't matter as much as I would like it to. It didn't feel as essential that I need access to this, I need access to that. Usually the trading is frequent enough and the types of resources you do have access to were enough in the game. As far as what I can see others not liking, it's really going to be just twofold in that count. The first is that this order track, depending on who you are, you may not appreciate the guesswork. That guesswork I touched upon, that idea of thinking through, well, Tiffany's going to do that, and I can't remember if I said Jack, Blake, I don't remember whose name that was, but Tiffany and Frank, I think it was Frank. Tiffany and Frank are going to be doing X, Y, and Z on this board and trying to plan around them. There are decisions and tactical thought process of looking at what they're doing and why as you do that. But the end result can be a degree of guesswork that won't work out in your favor, and that might not be something that's fun for you. It might be frustrating for you. I enjoy it, but you might find it frustrating. And then secondly, it's going to be a game where trading, like I said already, to me, trading is a huge part of this game. This is a game where people are going to be playing that trade card to trade the resources that they're good at. You're building and focusing on production in terms of trying to capitalize on different resource types. You want to get, not different resource types, you want to focus on having multiple ships or planets or colonies, whatever, in the same type of resource, so that when you play those resource cards, you can generate a ton of stuff and then turn around and trade them to other players and or to the bank. So trading is a huge part of this game, but if you are someone that refuses to trade with other players or doesn't like trading in your games, to me, trading is a big concept, a big important aspect of the Artemis Odyssey, so that might be something that's not for you. As far as my final thoughts on this game, before I dive into final thoughts entirely, as I mentioned already, I have not played the team play modes and I haven't played the solo modes for this game, so those are 2 aspects of this game that you should be aware exist, but I can't comment on them myself as far as my experience with them. Past that, I really like the Artemis Odyssey. The Artemis Odyssey has a lot of key core concepts we've seen in a lot of games, all mixed together in a system that works well. It has that resource generation. It has that engine production. It has the action planning of playing down your cards to different slots, but also being able to choose with the order that they're going to play out in, which is a fun little puzzle. The scoring is going to be the key concept of the game that really pulls you in, but in addition to the scoring, you're trying to build out your engine in a variety of different ways. You can focus on building up a ton of starships and just exploring the galaxy, exploring, rapidly jumping from system to system, putting your starships in various areas, getting the discovery bonuses, and then also getting resources when those resources are generated. Or you can focus on colonies, or maybe focus on factories or terraformers. Focusing on terraformers is a big deal. If you can get your 4 terraformers out, that's going to be 12 points right there. Plus, you can get an additional 12 points every single time you play that terraforming card, which can be absolutely huge. And you're constantly playing that game of trying to anticipate what other players are doing and then building around that. This is a game where when other players zig, you don't want to zag. Meaning, if other players are all building terraformers, you want to get terraformers too, because those are the cards that will be played for scoring. You ideally want to kind of team up with the players who's in last place. You want to find the person who's doing the worst and then mimic what they're doing, because then you'll benefit from their scoring cards and vice versa, but they're in last place. Meanwhile, everyone else is trying the same strategy around you. There's a lot of decision space in this game while maintaining this simple core aspect of what is going on for it. For me, where Artemis Odyssey stumbles a little bit is going to be that aspect of having a bunch of stuff in the game that I want to matter more. I love the concept of playing out these galaxies, and yet it didn't feel like it necessarily mattered where I went so much as the idea that I went at all. I love the idea of the resource production, and yet it didn't feel like it mattered so much what I produced, so much as just that I do produce something in this game. So I did want many aspects of the game to feel like they had a little bit more meaning or focus in what they're doing, so that I could pursue them, or even just care a little bit more when you take my planet, when you go to that galaxy instead of that galaxy. I want those moments to feel a little bit more, ooh, I wish you had done something different, or I wish I had been able to do something different instead. Overall, the Artemis Odyssey is going to be a 3 out of 5 for me. My rating scale is in the description down below. You can check that out. But a 3 is a good game. It's a game that needs a drop, at least for me, based on what I'm looking for in it. It's a game that needs a drop more in those aspects mattering to elevate it from good to great for me. It is one that I've enjoyed. I'm looking forward to the final version, as well as potentially whatever else the Kickstarter offers, but one that I both enjoyed while also wanting a bit more from it. Until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, have a good one.